Dragonslayer, Larry, Paul, and Heather, back for coming. Today, it's my pleasure to introduce our local guest of honor, Paul Janess, who is the author of the Iron Dragon series and the editor of the Crimson Pack series, and a good friend of Conduit, and I'd like to think of mine. He's going to speak about becoming a Dragonslayer, whether it's a good career move or the dumbest thing you could ever do. So, here's Paul.
I know what you guys are thinking, especially you Princess Leia types. Aren't you a little short to be a Dragon Slayer? It's true, but I submit to you that I have proof that I have been slaying dragons since December 25th, 1976. 3 years, 8 months. You'll notice that I'm holding a truck toy that Santa brought me. But behind said truck is this. That's the Fisher-Price Castle. This castle is what set me off on this crazy journey toward being a Dragon Slayer and a writer. And I've killed a lot of dragons since then. The first one being that pink dragon right there. I don't understand why Fisher-Price exactly made it a pink dragon, because boys like dragons too, and they should definitely not be pink. I named him Pinky, and for whatever reason I knew that Pinky must die. Now, this is the last known image of Pinky. If you can tell, he's trying to get away. I killed him in a very unique way that I'm fairly certain no one has ever done before. I think it's entirely unique in all the annals of dragon slaying. I've never read about it, heard about it, or anything, and I'm not going to tell you how I did it yet. But it started then. And I remember that Christmas. This is one of my first memories. Now this actually happened in a strange land called Nevada. I hail from the biggest little city in the world, Reno. Maybe you've heard of it. It's world famous for casinos. Are there children here? Hookers, divorces, and all right, it's a pretty good city. And the most famous police department, sheriff's department in the world. That's right. So, you'd think that Dragon Slayers couldn't come from Reno, but you'd be wrong. And I think that Dragon Slayers can come from anywhere. And really from any background. And I think I'm proof of that. Now, the thing about Pinky. I knew dragons were supposed to be scary, because I hadn't read The Hobbit or seen the cartoon at this point, but I had heard of it. My mom had talked about it, my dad had talked about it, and it was like this really cool thing, and I didn't really understand it all, but I thought it was awesome. And my mom made me a t-shirt. It was yellow, like kind of that pea yellow, really, like seriously, and I'm not kidding. And it had felt letters on it that my mom made, and it said Little Bilbo.
This isn't going to end well.
I'm kidding you not. Okay, this really happened. Now, I really loved the castle, and I loved dragons, and I loved the Hobbit, and all of that was awesome. And finally, when I was 4. I think I was about 4 and a half, I saw the Hobbit cartoon for the first time. And it was like a life-changing event, for real. And it scared the crap out of me on certain scenes. Do you remember when the dwarves and Bilbo are in the Misty Mountains and the orcs come out and they're like chasing him, and they got these huge heads and mouths. They're like chasing little Bilbo. And I remember being terrified, and I hid under the couch cushions. I climbed under, and I'm like, Mom, is it over yet? Are they gone? And she's like, yes. And then I stuck my head out, and of course they're still there. And I'm like, oh! This really happened. My mom's twisted. But anyway, I learned that that dragons were supposed to be scary, and that, you know, you're supposed to be frightened of Smaug was awesome. He's like the all-time classic dragon. So I learned, I think, these important things from The Hobbit and about Dragonslayer. This is what you need. Number 1, you need dwarves. Okay. Number 2, you need a wizard. Number 3, a hobbit was a good idea, possibly not necessary. And number 4, you do not need a plan. Let me just point out somebody. Gandalf, really? You don't need a plan? We're just going to show up at the Lonely Mountain and everything's going to be okay. Right. So, I got this idea that dragon slaying and going after dragons was just like the coolest thing that you could possibly do. And I started imagining little adventures and all sorts of things like that. And this went on for some time, and I wore that Fisher-Price castle out. I cut the cardboard, I made secret doors, I did all sorts of things. And then, I saw Dragonslayer. My dad took me to see this movie. Some of you have seen this movie. This is I think it's still good today, if you watch it. I think it's still good, especially, it's a good dragon. Vermithrax. Anybody? Vermithrax? Yeah. Right. So, I learned that young wizards' apprentices with spears could possibly kill a dragon. Spears are a good idea, but really what you need is sorcery. Only sorcery can destroy it. I'm not going to give it away, but how do they have you sorcery to kill this dragon? You haven't seen the movie. Now, I think that this was a big moment for me, but really the penultimate thing was reading this book right here. I finally got around to reading this when I was in 4th grade. And I got it out of the library at Georgie Harris Elementary School in Las Vegas, Nevada. We moved to Vegas. And my mom and dad got divorced. He said he wasn't going to leave Reno, but he did. And Mom stayed in Reno. And I had to find something to, I don't know, just to cope with life. And I found fantasy. And I found The Hobbit. And I read The Hobbit back to back to back, 3 times in a row in 4th grade. And this book changed my life. I know that it probably changed some of your lives too. And killing Smaug, who's obviously a really bad villain, is a good idea. But I want to be clear, okay? Not all dragons are on the kill list, okay? Some dragons must be spared, all right? Pete, yes. Puff the Magic Dragon, yes. Pinky, kill list. But really, The Hobbit, in just a gigantic way, informed me on how it should go. J.R. Tolkien painted that. I don't know if you guys know that. That's the full jacket for one of the originals. When I look at that book, or that cover right there, it really brings me back. Now, also, there was this map. When I looked at this map before I read the book, it just blew my mind. I thought you needed a map to find dragons too as well, but it gave me something that it's hard to describe. This is like a novel unto itself. It's mysterious, we can't read the runes, there's all this cool stuff on it. You know, here of old was Thrain, king under the mountain. That's not the Thrain from the book, but the grandfather anyway. It says there's dwarves, and then, you know, here was, you know, Dale and the running river, and then to the north, and the great mountains, withered heath, whence came the great worms. This book and this map really changed things for me. And I wanted to draw, you know, maps, of course, as well. And I didn't know exactly how to channel this, because in Vegas, there were hardly any dragons, aside from the lizards, and they weren't really that scary. And then I discovered this. Anybody on this still? The red box? A few of you? Of course. Now, the Dungeons and Dragons red box, I believe it was 79, correct me if I'm wrong, when it came out. When I got this my life changed completely because now we had a way to kill dragons. They had statistics and hit points, and I wanted to tell stories about heroes who would go off and do these amazing things. And this 6th grade it kind of started, but 7th grade is where it really, really got going. And practically every day we would go and kill a dragon. And that was fun. Even on school nights we would do this kind of thing. And our little geeky selves were just stupid 7th grade boys. There were no girls wanted to play, big surprise. Later girls who wanted to play, and they were great, but they're still not names, mostly us little boys. And we were millionaires in our games. We had like piles of treasure. We'd kill a freaking dragon every day because it was Dungeons and Dragons, right? Go to a dungeon and kill dragons. We would argue endlessly about this image right here, painted by Larry Elmore. Does this guy die or does he kill the dragon? We literally argued about this for weeks, and this is my story, and I'm sticking to it. Torin, that's Torin, he won initiative. If he didn't, he'd be a flaming torch. I say Torin cut the fangs off the dragon, dodge to the side, and stab the dragon in the ear hole. Critical hit. Dragon dies. Can I get a yeah? This arguing was accompanied always by Dr. Pepper, Cool Ranch Doritos, and we played AC/DC's Back in Black album on a boombox so many times we destroyed 2 cassette tapes. Yeah. We liked Hell's Bells when we fought the dragon, just so you know. Dragon hunting was super awesome. And all of that D&D and all those books and all these things, led me down a road. And this road came to Conduit on Friday night when we played Orcs versus Giants versus Grey Sharks. And, do you hear something? I hear something. Anyway, this game brought 3 tribes together. We, of course, had No Tusks and his Iron Spear tribe. Iron Spear tribe! Oh, Iron Spear! One, two, three. Iron Spear tribe! Okay. Alright. We also had the Grey Sharks. The Grey Sharks tribe. Yeah, they're like Wookiees. Alright, and of course we had Mungo and the Bloody Hair tribe. Giants represent, okay? Alright, now that was Larry Correa back there, right? He played Lorch. Lorch the Giant, and he was really, really stupid. I mean, so dumb that he couldn't remember his father's name, and I am Lorch.
I am Lorch, son of Lorch's dad.
This was priceless stuff, okay? And of course, the 3 tribes had to work together because there was a really super bad army coming to kill them. They had to abduct a dragon's baby and force the dragon to kill the army. It's really complicated stuff. The orcs screwed everybody over in the end. It was brilliant. They had to decide who was going to be the leader. And of course, that's very challenging because, they all fight it out. So, of course, the giants suggested to use the ancient custom of choosing the leader, which is skunk tossing. Yes. He who can toss the skunk into the skull of Orc Chieftain will be chief. Huh? Alright. So, of course, they had to go find a skunk. Bob Defendi was playing Rog. So Rog liked fluffy animals. Of course, Rog captured a skunk and brought the skunk back. Now, the skunk has to be alive. It's just a kind of a knocked out skunk, okay? So, Skunk woke up before tossing of skunk, well, it was not a skunk!
You guys, try.
All right, so Rob lost a finger, and
Tasted great.
it was good. It was good. In the end, they found a skunk, and someone tossed a skunk, and Zub, the long nose, tossed the skunk into the skull, and that would be Russ Cook back there. So Russ was chief, and it was fantastic. Now, honey badgers aside, they're my second favorite animal. Meerkats, honey badgers. Don't ask. Don't ask. But anyway, this is all, of course, because of this book, A Walk in the Abyss, which is an orc story. Shane Moore wrote the Abyss Walker series, and he asked me to write a story about orcs in his world. And I'm like, yeah, I want to write a story about orcs. Are you kidding me? Because you have to embrace your fear. Anyway, so I wrote No Tusks, and No Tusks is the classic underdog story. He's this little orc slave, and they broke his tusks off. Notice the little nubs right there. And when you're an orc with no tusks, it's literally impossible, well, pretty much impossible, to mate with the females, because if you don't have tusks, how would you hold them down? So No Tusks was clever, so he had to think of other ways to go about this. So he realized that orc females have one pretty serious weakness, and that is the blood honey. If you mix fresh blood with honey, it drives orc females wild. So really, I think No Tusks is the most important orc love story of the 21st century. It breaks new ground. It's disgusting, hilarious, and, you know, what can I say? The other thing about this story that it ended up spawning was a few other stories. For example, there was Mungo the Undying. Now, Mungo appears in No Tusks, and No Tusks may have fooled him. And I had to recruit my best friend, Patrick Tracy, to write this story. And I want to just pay slight tribute to Pat Tracy. You guys don't know him. He's my college roommate. He's just a fantastic guy. I love him like a brother. We're brothers from different mothers. We look a lot alike though. We really do. Pat's in the back over there. You see Pat? Pat, stand up. Stand up. That's Pat. Yeah.
I get taken for ball.
Yeah. People are always mistaken us. But anyway, I dedicated my third Iron Dragon book, Secret Empire, to Pat. This is the inscription: for Patrick M. Tracy, a dear friend and a great writer who helped craft this book and this series from the very beginning. So, Pat. That's Pat's theme song. Oh, that's not Pat's theme song. This is Pat's theme song.
Too sexy for my love, love's coming to leave.
You gotta shake it a little bit.
Are we all supposed to be dancing now?
Do you see a resemblance right there? That's Mungo. Wait, is that? Yeah. Alright. Pat wrote Mungo the Undying, which appears in A Walk in the Abyss. And it's just the most hilarious giant story you will ever read. Mungo is the leading giant philosopher of our time. And his sayings are going to go down in history as the stupidest things that a giant has ever said. But anyway. Alright, so I wanted to give a shout out to Pat. And Mungo the Undying. Somehow it always comes back to dragons, though. I'm not really sure why, but it does. And of course there was a dragon in that adventure. And in the end of the adventure, the idea was to distract the dragon, this is on Friday night, and sneak into the lair. The orcs decided it was a good idea to kill 2 of the baby dragons.
Brilliant.
And then abduct the 3rd one and have the Grey Shulks take it away as a hostage. Meanwhile, Mungo, Lorch, and Rog confronted the dragon to, I don't know why, to distract it, but all of the giants ran away, And except for Larry's giant lorch, who somehow rolled like a really high number on the 20-sider and made his saving throw and didn't run away. So Lorch is standing there in front of the dragon, and the dragon says, "Have you brought me sacrifice? Why are you here?" And Lorch said,
Yes.
and then he offered the dragon a cow. Because why wouldn't you? The dragon ate the cow, and it seemed to be going rather well. But in the beginning of the game, when they were trying to figure out who the leader was, one of the giants peed on the orcs. This didn't seem to be that big of a plot point at first. But the orcs saved the pee. Later, when the dragon went into the cave and found the 2 dead baby dragons, they also smelled Lorch and Lorch's pee. The dragon came out to confront Larry Curry's character Lorch and breathed fire on him. He somehow survived this. And the dragon said, "I smelled you inside the lair." And Larry said,
Orcs steal my pee!
"You can't write this." This just happens. Okay? This is why I became a Dragonslayer. Is because there are these collaborative moments where everything works so perfectly that you just, it just, I don't know, that thing last night, that Friday night, I don't think we're going to forget that. Like, we're going to remember that forever, and we're going to love it. And that's just one adventure in all these years. And I want to quote George Martin. Someone else may have said it, but George R. R. Martin, who was my favorite fantasy writer for a while until book 4 and book 5 of his Song of Ice and Fire series. But in the 5th book, he wrote, "Someone who reads," or sorry, let me start again. "Those who read live 1,000 lives, but those who do not read live only one." Role-playing's the same way. If you role-play and you read, you live so many lives. And don't we all want more out of life? You know, and we have these amazing experiences and play these different characters and live out these different characters. And we go to these amazing worlds. And for me, it was really kind of about creating these fantasy worlds. And I ended up creating the world of Aileron, which is where my Iron Dragon books are set. I remember I was flying over the Grand Canyon in an airplane. You know, I wasn't on acid or anything. And I looked down and I saw these plateaus down below. And they were like, there's no possible way that somebody could get there unless, you know, they were in a helicopter or something like that. And I thought, that's just amazing, these plateaus. And I think I remember the Lost World, like the Rice Burrows, a little bit of that, these plateaus. And then I saw the National Geographic article, 1989, and it was about these plateaus in Venezuela. The Indian word is Tepuy. It just means like high mountain. And in arachnophobia, that's where they get the spiders. Okay? Angel Falls, largest waterfall in the world, comes from there. So I dreamed up this plateau world where you look off the edge, and I was in an airplane as a kid as well, and I looked out and I saw clouds like that. Do you guys remember being in an airplane and like looking down at the clouds, and they were so thick it was like you could walk on them or something? This led me to create the world of Aileron for my Iron Dragon books, which you look off the edge and all you see is clouds. You look down and you can't see the bottom because it's so high up. And the people, they look off the edge and they're afraid. They call it the underworld. And all they know is that demons, and griffins, and dragons, they fly up out of this mist and attack the people on the world and hunt them and kill them. Part of the inspiration was Olympus Mons on Mars, big geography guy. It's like 65,000 feet tall. It's a shield volcano. It's 500 feet wide. It's as big as the state of Arizona. So that was my inspiration. This has been fractured, but this world was kind of where I started. And then, of course, what did I have to write? It had to be a dragon adventure. And after several years, I wrote The Golden Cord, which did spawn from some games. I mean, the book's quite a bit different, but it really came from that. Because I thought I knew something about hunting dragons, and I could do it in my own unique way. This book, it took forever to write this book, really. I'll say, I mean, really, hard writing, I'd say 2 years, but it was more like a 6 or 8 year process to become a writer, to become good enough. I mean, I was a good storyteller, I thought I was a good storyteller, but actually becoming a good writer, that's a whole different ballgame. So, after this book finally got published, I felt validated in some way. You know, it was the best-selling book that my publisher had ever had, but, you know, that doesn't matter in this world. As soon as you think you got somewhere, you get kicked in the teeth, whatever. The economy tanks. My published best-selling book they ever had, economy tanks. Second book's about to come out. It's like a 5-book series. They offered me a 5-book series. They wanted the whole thing. Dragon Hunters, they decide that they're cutting their fantasy book. No more Iron Dragon books through 5-star books. They tried to keep me, there's a certain core of people who are like, we got to keep Paul. They're like, the bigwigs are like, 1 book a year does not make us money. So they cut the whole line. So I had to find my own way. And I did find that way. It took a while, but I found it. And Secret Empire finally came out. Same cover artist, Ciruelo Cabral. He does the Dragons calendars. I know you guys have seen those in the stores. You know, it's one of those things that happens. Not everybody has a perfect story, but you know what? We're in charge of our own destiny. And hunting dragons, you never know what's going to happen. You roll the dice, you take your chances. I hoped that Lorch and Rog and Mungo would all miss their saving throw and run away from the damn dragon. But Lorch made a save and stayed to fight it. Luckily, Lorch was carrying the sword of Webermoosh, his cousin's grandfather's blade. Dull, old, rusty. And when he rolled a really awesome hit roll and smacked the dragon in the nose, I decided then that it was a sword of dragon slaying. Oh yes. The dragon did not have a good moment right there. And Lorch somehow survived, although all the hair was burned from his body, and he's not going to be as pretty as he used to be because of the fire. But, you know, you just never know what's going to happen, and you just have to roll with the punches, and I think that's what we all have to do. And, you know, this weekend we've been putting people into tribes, gray shulks and orcs, you know, and giants. And it's fun, you know, to split up into tribes. But, you know, we're all in the Conduit tribe. For whatever reason, we keep coming back to this little convention. And, you know, we may think, oh, well, it's Memorial Day weekend. You know, we could go do something else. We go to Lake Powell, whatever. But you know what? This is our tribe. And these are the people that we care about and that, you know, we love, our friends, our family. You know, we're the Conduit tribe. And if we don't stick together, it's just not going to be good. So I think we have to. And I want to thank the Conduit people, you know, for making this happen. I want to thank Debbie Lords. I'm just looking for faces. I want to thank Eddie and Stephanie. Eddie's in the back. And I want to thank Aaron. Oh, I don't know who else is in the room who's a good Conduit. Kirsten. Yeah, Kirsten, right in the back. Yes, I mean, this is not so easy to pull this off, to bring in these guests and to have to, you know, to make this a fun thing. And you know, you guys are great, and I want to thank you guys all for the support over these years, because you know this journey, it's not very easy, but we go together, and that makes it fun. And that launch party last night, the growling contest, skunk tossing, come on, that's priceless. So if you didn't make it, I'm sorry. We had a lot of fun. I'm almost done with this little presentation, and I'm not going to take a full hour. There's a lot of people who inspire me. Pat inspires me. He's a great writer. He always makes my books better. You know, I could not do without him. Larry Correa inspires me, reading his books. So many people, you know, in the audience. You know, so, and I want to mention one of my heroes, which is Dennis McKiernan. He's an older gentleman now. He wrote the Mythgar books, and Dragon Doom is, I think, his best book. And it's about a really scary dragon, Black Calgalith and Sleeth. I say it's about the dragon, and you know what? I always do that. I always say I write dragon books. Yeah, I write about dragons. No, I don't. I don't write about dragons. Are you kidding me? Who do I write about? I write about the people. I write about the people who are their heroes, who go after the dragons, and they don't do it because they want to, really. They have to do it. In the Iron Dragon series, it's a drake. The pitch is something like, let's back it up here. A hunter must leave behind the woman he loves, give up all hope of survival, as he's forced to guide his most hated enemies on a suicidal journey to the lair of the Dragon King. Drake of Clifton is a young man who wants to save his family, and I think he's a real person, and I think he's got heart. And we were on this. Larry and I were on a panel earlier. There was two of us. It was the Larry Paul show. I was the tall one, and we talked about write what you know, and we talked. He knows this, I know that. We just use those things. You know what I think we know is we know people. We know what a real person is like. I think that I understand people, and I love people. I'm a cardiac nurse in my other life, and I try to bring that out. And my goal in practically every short story or novel that I write is to make you cry at the end. It's my goal. I don't succeed every time, not with every person, but it does happen. Golden Cord, there's a couple of moments. Dragon Hunters, there's some dogs that Drake travels with. The dogs are still alive in book 3. Just want to get that out there. Yeah.
I read number 3.
Things happen. It's a 5-book series. Watch out. So they're alive in Secret Empire. But I think that we love to experience adventure and heroes and these real people, because we want to maybe be those people. We want to be better people. And we want to kick the snot out of fire-breathing dragons like that. We want to defeat the most powerful thing we can possibly imagine. Our greatest fears, we want to have victory over it. We want to be able to be that hero, that heroine at some point. And I think that fantasy novels, all novels, really, in a way, they can show us how to be better people, and they just do so much. And without fantasy and writing, I would not have made it. I just would not have made it. And I know that a lot of you wouldn't have made it. We're for whatever reason, we're in this tribe. And I think we embrace it. We tell the haters to suck it. And we do whatever it is we want to do. Pinky. I'm going to tell you how I killed him. I'm fairly certain that you're not going to see this one coming. Now, if I had known about the honey badger, I would have fed him to him. But I did not. So I had to use whatever I had on hand. So all the gifts were opened. My parents weren't looking. I got Pinky before he escaped. I crawled under the Christmas tree. And I drowned that little worm in the dirty bowl of water underneath the Christmas tree. That's all I have. 37 after. I want to thank you guys for everything, and It's great to be here. Thank you, Conduit, for making me local guest of honor. It's the first time I've ever been local guest of honor. I really appreciate that. I think if anybody wants to say anything or ask a question, I think we'll do questions for like, maybe 5 minutes or less, maybe 4 minutes. If not, we'll just go about our merry way. Does anybody have any questions or anything? It's always a little iffy now, huh? Okay. All right, we've talked enough. All right, well, thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys at WesternCon. Thank you very much.